I'm Douglas Massi. If you're new to our channel, welcome, and thank you so much for checking us out. Please subscribe if you're new and give us a thumbs up so that we know you're actually watching this video. And in this video, we're going to play a live final expense sales training call just for you. In this call, you're going to hear me going over several tips that can pretty much guarantee your success in the final expense sales industry. I'm also going to go over American Amicable and their final expense product, Senior Choice. And I'm going to touch on the product line that they have and the list of living benefits that they offer too. All of this and more coming right up, so stick around. Good morning, sales team, and welcome to the call. I hope everybody had a really awesome weekend, and I hope you're all prepared to get out there this week and kick some butt and do something good for a lot of folks and their families. This call, we're going to go over a few things that are maybe some of these things are going to be a little more basic. But then I do want to get into one thing that I am going to talk about, which is the correct way, and what I believe, what really works for me and some of the highest producing agents in the country, the correct way to really price out the options for the client. And this is just something that I kind of took note of from a conversation that I had with an agent this week, and and also an agent that it's just something that always sticks in my mind of a conversation I had about a year ago. So we are going to talk about the American Amicable final expense product and the product line. Actually, I'm going to touch on the line, and let me just start with this. The thing, we're just going to jump right into it. The thing that I would say I love best, the best feature about that Senior Choice American Amicable final expense whole life insurance product is that they figured out a way to draft better than any of the other companies. We're talking better than, Security National Life, Transamerica, even those companies, they draft correctly because they do the true Social Security billing. But what these guys have done, what American Amicable has done, is they figured out a way to take that true Social Security billing to the next level, one. And two, I'm not sure what it is, but we have the highest persistency, and that's, the longest amount average of each client staying on the books from this company. Of all the other carriers that we use, when I put them all together and I look at the numbers, this Senior Choice product, this final expense whole life insurance product that American Amicable has, these clients stay on the books better than any other client that we've ever sold, that I know of. And I know why. A big part of it is, like I said, the true Social Security billing. So let me just talk on that real briefly. And then I'm going to get into a few things that you guys are going to need for success, and then we're going to get back into the products. But with true Social Security billing, and most of you guys on the sales team know, maybe this will be newer for the newer agents, is that true Social Security billing means that the insurance company is going to draft the payment the day that the client is going to get their Social Security benefits. And this is important because our low-income clients, which is most of the people we're selling, their money's gone a week after they get paid. And not only that, but a lot of times, like if the draft date is on the 3rd, what normal insurance companies do when the 3rd falls on the weekend is they wait until, normal insurance companies, they wait until Monday or Tuesday to draft that payment because they have to wait till the next bank day. What true Social Security billing carriers like American Amicable, what they're going to do is they're going to draft it on Friday, which is the day the client gets their Social Security benefits. So don't listen to the client's nonsense. Let me just get that out there, because they get confused about when the money comes in. But I'm telling you, if their Social Security day is the 3rd and the third falls on a Saturday, they're never getting their money on Monday. They're getting their money on Friday, the day before. American Amicable is not only going to draft that payment on Friday, but they're going to draft it like in the middle of the night. I mean, I don't know how they're doing it, but they're getting to the money at like 2 or 3 in the morning, right after the money goes into their checking account. So that these clients, they don't even have time to go and take the money out. And that's what I think that's like the one product feature, because, you know, our clients, you know, they'll forget. You know, I've shared a story of a client that I saw her bank statement, and I seen where she had all these charges from a debit card charge, from using a debit machine at like 12:30 and 1 o'clock in the morning. She hit it like 7, 8 times. She got all these charges, and I was looking at and I talked to her about it. And I realized she's sitting at the debit machine waiting for her money to come into her bank so she can draw it out at 1 o'clock in the morning. And she's hitting it over and over. And she doesn't realize she's being charged every time she tries to hit money and the money's not there. So they will do this. They will be that desperate. So what happens is when they're doing this, they're not always thinking clear. They don't sit there and think, well, let me see, I got to leave money for this. I got to leave money for that. They're not always going to do that. They're going to try to. But what they will often do is just take most of all the money out. And then what happens is, of course, you know, your insurance carrier is going to go to draft the payment in the middle of the day, or let's say the next business day, if it's that Social Security date falls on the weekend, and the money's long gone. So again, that's what I love about them the most. The number one reason that I would say I love that product is because they keep the clients on the books better than any other company I've ever seen. Now, and they've also got a lot of products. So, and I would say, like, if I had to choose only working with one company, you know, and it would need a company that has other products, term, universal life. It might be Transamerica, but I think this is their edge. The edge would be maybe American Amicable because of that the way they keep the clients on the books. It's crazy. So before I go over the product with you, I do want to touch on, I guess it's around 6 things that I think are necessary for success. And I think we all need to hear this, especially the newer agents. But for those of you who have been kind of like tire kicking in and out of the industry, or you've done a little final expense sales, maybe you've flip-flopped and done other things, as a final expense agent, this is like those 6 things that you really need to do to keep it in the back of your mind, that are going to just, like, pretty much, if you do them all, your success is basically guaranteed. Number 1, always schedule your week. In other words, know where you're going to be every day of the week, what you're going to be doing ahead of time. If you go day by day, well, today let me see what I'm going to do for tomorrow. If you're doing that and you don't actually have a schedule, you'll never get any momentum going, because you'll always be sidetracked by something else that's going on. Number 2, don't go home from your field day until it's the end of the day. Now, I recently moved to an area where we like to sell to. I used to always have to drive 2-3 hours away to all the places that we sold to. So I learned that that's what worked really. By doing that, I had to put in these crazy 12, 14-hour days, Mariana and I both. So which we still do a little bit of, but not nearly as much now. But what happens is that taught me to keep those long days. So there were days when we would come back with, you know, it was normal to come back with 6 to 8 sales. And I know that sounds like a lot, but I'm telling you, with a lot of leads, you're setting appointments, you're working the system we teach, that was the norm. My record was 12 applications in one day, and I think my wife did 8 in one day. I think that's her record. So we know that these long days really work, because what will happen is you'll go to work a morning, you'll go to put in a half a day, and you'll have a hard time, and you'll kind of struggle through it, and then you'll go home and then end up staying home. And then what will happen is, what you're not realizing is, all the stuff that kind of crapped out on you early in the day probably would have been reversed had you stayed at the end of the day. I cannot tell you how many times I do that. I've done that last door knock at 6 or 7 o'clock at night, or especially gone to the last appointment, and come out with a big sale, or even a sale or a couple of applications that maybe led to other referrals or that ended up just making the day or even the week. So I'm telling you, start early. Let me just, number 2, don't go home from your field day until the sun starts to set. Maybe start early and finish late. And that's kind of the way I would suggest. Number 3, you got to make an internal decision to purchase and work leads every single week, no matter what. And I'm telling you, a lot of times there's nothing worse that you can say to me than, well, I don't have money for leads. I need to make some sales first and then come up with the money for leads. That makes no sense, guys. How the hell are you going to make sales first without leads? Other than selling to maybe your family that you're churning business. And yeah, unfortunately, we did catch somebody doing that last week, and it may end up being a real messed up situation. We'll see what happens with that. But I'm telling you, you don't want to do anything like that. That's why you want to have leads every single week. With leads, you have the leads, you have the people to see. This is the common sense part. Don't ever tell me, well, I need to make some sales first and then I'm going to buy leads. What? How are you going to make sales without leads? It doesn't work, guys. Beg, borrow, or steal. That's what I did. I won't tell you to do something that I haven't done in the past. We had to sell a bunch of stuff. I know a lot of you guys know that I've sold the gun collection, stuff out of the house, just so we can come up with a few $1,000s for leads when we first started. So have leads every week. Don't skip weeks without leads, because that turns into this downward spiral that basically can turn you into, can become a nightmare. Okay, we'll leave it at that. Number 4, do not give up on a lead until they have asked you to leave the property. That's the way I see it, guys. I had a lady a couple of weeks ago. She didn't want to take the appointment from me. She wasn't really too rude. Sometimes they get rude and they hang up. Those people, I'm definitely going to bang on the door. So, and that's the way I see it, because they're going to be different in person than they will when you call a lot of times. So don't give up on the lead until they've asked you to leave their property. This lady, I went and banged on the door. She called me on it. She said, didn't I speak with you? It was just, and I didn't wait a week, guys. I don't do that. If I'm calling today and I'm going to be in the field tomorrow and they tell me no, I'm going to be in the area, I'm going to door knock that lead. It's as simple as that. The last thing I'm going to do is give up on the lead just because they changed their mind on the phone, or they hung up on me, or they were mean to me, whatever. That's horse crap. They requested this information. My job is to get it to them, even if it's against their will and they change their mind. Because guess what? They change their minds again. They'll change it back. So this lady, really nice, she called me on it. She said, I told you the other day I wasn't interested. And I was like, I kind of, in all honesty, I kind of played a little dumb. Oh, I'm sorry, ma'am. My mistake. But you know what? I'm already here. And I promise you, I'm not going to pressure you into having to buy something that maybe you don't want to. Just give me a few minutes and maybe I can do something really good for you. I did end up selling her. Her daughter was there. Her daughter actually helped me, sort of. But what I did was, and it ended up being it was like a $34 policy or something, because she had insurance and couldn't afford it in the past and dropped it. So her daughter actually did make a comment to her that it was a good idea to have, and that kind of helped us to seal the deal. So that was nice. And I had to do a price drop. The bottom price I showed her was like $50-something, and she was like, no. And I was hoping the daughter would offer to pay for it, but maybe, I don't know, maybe the daughter just didn't have checking account or something, whatever. But the bottom line was, it was a sale because I did not give up on the lead. Pretend you spent $100 on each lead. Okay, just pretend like, I don't know, like you have, like if you don't sell each lead, you're going to fail. If you just can think that way, like, and not just give up on the darn leads, you're going to make more sales. I'm telling you, never give up on it till they kick you off the property or you close the sale. Number 5, check on all of your business within 24 hours of sending it in. And this I noted because I had a conversation with someone who was sending up business and then asked me a couple of days later, and I know when we're new, we don't know all this stuff. But one of the things we have to do is check on the business, make sure, verify they receive it, The next day, verify that the underwriter has gotten it and has approved it, or if there's any issues, follow up on all your business immediately. And number 6, this is probably the best advice that I could give you. Deliver all your policies. When you deliver your policies and you go over it with the client, you're locking in the sale. You're going to, just that alone will increase your persistency. So they keep the policy even longer. And that gives you the opportunity to ask for referrals that you deserve. You pull out that agent evaluation page and tell them, my boss requires this. Boom. Could you answer a few questions for me? And then get them to put in the referrals and ask them, talk to them when you're talking to, oh, well, my brother, oh, that's great. Where's your brother? He lives local? Ask them, could you call him? Set the appointment for me. I'm in the area. Call him. See if I can go over there real quick. A lot of times they'll jump up and do it. I've had them go for the phone without asking. And I know some of you guys, this sounds familiar, like, yeah, I've had them do the same thing. And guys, do not be afraid of asking for referrals. So the last thing I want to touch on before we get into this product, is the correct way to price out the options for the client. And I'm going to say, what I mean is, I like to show 5 options. That's what I suggest. That's always what works best for me. And the most important thing I think is never to show less than maybe $55, $60 as your bottom option, your cheapest option. When I say bottom option, I mean cheapest option. Because these folks, a lot of them will naturally go to the bottom option, even if they can afford a lot more. And I'm telling you. So, and this came up in conversation this week. It's a topic that comes up a lot. But the reasoning, and let me explain it to you. So I'm going to share you a story of a sale that I made recently, and I'm going to tell you about this agent. A year ago, this Lincoln Heritage agent called me, and I think they were I can't remember what she was wanting to do. I know I didn't want her to be on the sales team because she kind of scared me of the stuff. She was already learning how to do the business the wrong way. And that kind of scares me because these bad habits are hard to break. But one of the things she was complaining about is how a lot of these people are poor and they don't have money and they couldn't afford. And she goes, well, they couldn't even afford my bottom option, which was like $18. So she's telling me about this lady she sat with, or this couple or something that she sat with, and she showed them the bottom option of $18, and they said, no, that's too much. So right off the bat, the reason I'm talking about the correct way to price out these options was she had nowhere to do a price drop. Not that she knew how to do one. She didn't. I'm sure she didn't. But I look at it this way. When I go in, I am prepared to overcome objections. I am prepared. I expect them to give me some kind of an objection, and if I need to do a price drop and drop the price to an option they can afford when they can't afford what I'm showing you, when they can't afford all 5 options and the cheapest option is $58, I'm ready to drop the price. Don't ever show them something like $20, $30 because I'm telling you, now the problem is because sometimes they will say, oh, I can't afford any of those no matter what you're showing them. It's like instinct for them to get rid of the salesperson. And it's like almost a seller's remorse. Like they're afraid to buy, but they want to. And they'll do this. They'll say these stupid things to kind of get rid of you partially, but even though they want the insurance and they need it. So that really is the bottom line, guys. When you're showing them 5 options, the last option, it does not need to be $20 or $30. Or even $30 or $40. I'm telling you, I don't care. If I know they can't afford much, I'm still showing them $50-something, and then I'm doing the price drop. I'm going to ask them, if they jump to well, I can only afford that bottom option, and I know they probably can't. I'll ask them, well, Mrs. Jones, that's great. Can you definitely afford it? I'll put them, and sometimes they'll say yes, and then I'll go, well, look. At the end of the month, are you able to save any money? They're like, oh, no, my money's gone in the first week. If that's the case, then I know I'm dropping it. I know they're putting out all their money for bills to survive immediately. Then I'm dropping it. I'm going to go, look, you know what? Can I make a suggestion? Let's try this, and I'll show them like a $35 option. Let's try this. And then after a few months, of you being comfortable making payments, we can always come back and talk about adding to your policy, and basically selling them another policy is what we would be doing at that time. Guys, that is the way to do this. Don't just show them a bottom option. You're giving yourself nowhere to price drop, and you're probably underselling people that you shouldn't. So I'm in a house with a couple on Friday. I want to say this was Friday. And so they moved here from Colorado. They live in a little mobile home. It's actually one of the nicer mobile home communities. But it's a little, and it's kind of plain. They've been there for like a year. And so there's no nice decorations. It's kind of plain. So it's like, the only way for me to describe it is it's like a clean version of a lot of the typical clients we have. So, I don't know what they can't afford and what they can't afford. But in the end, the bottom line was the guy pulled out his darn bank statement, and he had like $35,000 in there. And so I'm sitting there thinking, wow, I could have easily judged these people as really low income, which maybe they are, but he's got money in there. So thankfully, they actually did take a higher option, and it made sense, and it was a couple $100 premium between the two. It was a real good sale, really solid, but, we just don't know. And that's what I'm getting at. That's the bottom line. So now you know what to do, how to price out the options. My suggestion, show 5. Don't go less than $50 per person per month. So like with the couple there, the bottom option I showed them was like $120. So keep that in mind. Now, I'm going to go over this product real quick. And if you got the American Amicable, if you've got that Senior Choice final expense whole life insurance application, you don't really need it. I'm kind of going to go over a few things with it. And the first thing I want to bring up is that they do have the e-app. The e-app gives them the approval. You'll see while you're sitting with the client, by using the e-app, while you're sitting with them, the approval comes back. So you're going to find out if they've been approved as applied for or not right then and there. Another thing, and this is interesting, that changed for them recently, is that you used to have to do a telephone interview, which was great. You get the approval. But now they give you the option to either do it or not do it. So if you're confident, if you're on a Sunday afternoon or something, or late at night or something, and you're confident that, you don't, or you're just not in a situation where you can do a phone interview, you don't have to. I think that's nice to have a company that has that kind of an option. And another thing that I love about them is on their application, they do give you the option to check a box so that the policy gets issued basically at however it's approved. In other words, if you're applying for immediate first day coverage and they're only going to, something comes up and they can only get offered the graded death benefit, it gets approved for that. So at least it gives you that automatic without you having to go through an amendment. And now you've got a way to go to the client and maybe resell them that product and let them know, look, Mrs. Jones, I got good news and bad news. Okay. The good news is we got you approved. The bad news is they wanted to rate you because of, it looks like it may have been, the breathing issue you had. Apparently maybe your asthma was worse, and they kind of look at that. And so they wanted to rate you for that and charge you more money. I said, no. The client's not going to pay more money. So just give them a little bit less insurance, and that's what we did. So now if you do it the right way, the way I just described it, you're coming out a hero. You're helping them to get approved for what they can get approved for, and you're not having to run back and forth. So that's one of the things that I really like about this product. Now, another thing is it's got bells and whistles. So it has a bunch of riders that I just think are pretty darn cool. It comes with the terminal illness accelerated benefit rider, and it also comes with the confined care rider, which helps them. And actually, if they end up in a nursing home, some of the death benefit can go to help pay for the nursing home, which is kind of interesting. There's also, and that's, I think it helps to pay for things. Yeah, I think that's what it does. It's either that or it pays for cash. I'm not exactly sure. But there's a bunch of these riders. Excuse me. It has a grandchild rider, and these are all optional. a children's insurance agreement rider. So now you can, if they've got children or grandchildren, you've got the option for both, and/or. It's got a nursing home waiver of premium. So by adding this rider, if they end up in a nursing home, they don't have to make payments on their life insurance, and they get to keep the life insurance. I think that's pretty cool. A lot of the folks that I meet, I can't tell you how many people fill out the direct mail cards and even are on Facebook while they're in the darn nursing home. So I see that a lot, so we know it happens. And it has an accidental death benefit rider. To me, that's pretty sweet as an add-on. So now what you're doing is you're turning this into this big family type of policy. It gives you that option. Let's just put it that way. And that, to me, I love that. I love having that option because sometimes you'll be sitting with, I can't tell you how many times I've used that with this, and Transamerica has accidental death, and they do the grandchildren too. And I've used these companies while I'm sitting with the client. The grandkids are running around, and so it's like, wow, and I know maybe they're living in a poor neighborhood, and I know that maybe this could be the difference between me closing them and not. And so I'll offer these. I'll let them know, hey, if you'd like, I can show you something that maybe will cover the grandkids too. And a lot of times they'll go, oh, yeah, I need it. What they'll do is they'll say, well, he's got it, but she doesn't. So, guys, keep that in mind. All these writers are excellent. And then again, I'm going to mention, to me, when it all comes down to it, just the way they draft, having that true Social Security billing option, it's important. It really, 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 really is. It's awesome, but to me, it's just important for keeping these people on the books. They've got a bunch of other products. I'm not going to go over them. Here's what I will say. They've got a couple of different universal life products. They've got, I think, 4 term products, completely different, including the mortgage protector. I think it's Home Protector. Their mortgage protection product. So it's one of those things that it's super competitive. It's simplified underwriting. And I think all these term life and universal life products are simplified underwriting. I'm pretty sure just about all their products are. They may have 1 or 2 that are not. But the cool thing about that mortgage protection product is it's super competitive. Like if you're competing with the Mutual of Omaha, or someone bought something else for mortgage protection, you're going to be able to do simplified underwriting and be really cheap, really competitive, and possibly beat the price on those other companies. Now, the give and take for that product is it's not going to pay a full commission. It's going to maybe be 20 points less. Maybe, for some reason, I think about 20 points less. Shouldn't be more than that. But you're giving that to save a sale, to close a sale that you wouldn't otherwise have. And the UL products, one of them builds a bunch of cash value. I sold one a couple of years ago to a lady who, I want to say, the lady and her daughter, the lady got the whole life insurance. The daughter, I showed the UL product to, because we know it's going to, the way it'll build the cash value, she's going to be able to keep it for life. So it's basically it basically worked out to be the way to describe it is a term life that's going to be good for the rest of her life and build cash value where she could use the cash value and cash it in, or just let the benefit roll and let the date go on and on and on so it doesn't expire, so she can keep the policy and not have to pay more. So they've got really, really good product. Now let me talk about this. So on these term and UL products, they've all got some killer riders. Look, the living benefits, we found out years ago, living benefits were important for term life insurance and for mortgage protection. Those of you who are you having a need. To me, someone buys a 30-year mortgage and they're young, well, they need life insurance. That to me, that's just like the easiest sale you could make if you've got a husband and wife there, because there's no way, especially if the guy's the breadwinner, that the wife is going to let him get away without paying for life insurance. especially, if they've had an experience or they've heard the story of so-and-so dying without life insurance and losing the house. And that's common. That's like the typical, that typical mortgage protection sale. So I know we don't specialize in it, but to me, it's good to have a product like this. So let's talk about it. This product has a type of disability income rider where the client can receive a monthly payment if they become disabled. And it's only good for a couple of years, but man, that's kind of huge. That helps. It also has, they have policies with riders for the spouses that are either level or decreasing term, and for the spouse and for the children. So again, like with a couple of the term life products have this exact rider, and I think both the UL products have it. So you're turning this one product into a family product. So if you're insuring like a primary, the guy's the breadwinner or the lady's the breadwinner, whoever's the breadwinner, you're concentrating on them as a main. These riders are so sweet with these living benefits. There's they've got like a children insurance agreement and benefit rider, which can provide, the way it works out to be up to $15,000 of life insurance on all the kids for like $9 a year. I mean, it's ridiculous. Accidental death, waiver of premium for disability. In other words, they become disabled and they can't work. The insurance is paid for, so they get to keep the insurance. So these are the typical living type of riders that I love. I love for this type of insurance, and they've got them all. So they've got the bells and whistles. To me, that's why I would like them. Those bells and whistles, that's what Transamerica doesn't have. They don't have the living benefits that this company has. So to me, that's kind of your whole thing in a nutshell of that product. Something else I like about this product is that I don't even think they actually underwrite. Like if you've got a client that falls into the return of premium for the whole life, I'm going back to the whole life product, the Senior Choice. It's actually 3 products in one. So you have the immediate option, the graded death benefit, and the return of premium death benefit. So I don't even think that they underwrite the return of premium. I think they basically just take you at your word. You're answering yes, you're offering return of premium, and they're going to say, okay, here you go, you can have it. Why is that important? Because if they're really sick, and it could be like where they may or may not qualify for any insurance and you have to go to guaranteed issue. This return of premium product, it pays, I'm pretty sure it pays almost full commission. It may be like 10 points less, but your commission is going to be really good on it, 1. And 2, a lot of these sick folks that we deal with that are really low income, again, they're barely getting by and barely able to afford it. So you can sell them a $2,500 policy that'll cover their final expenses at a price that maybe they can squeeze. And American Amicable will make it that much better for them because it's going to help them to stay on the books longer by getting to that payment before they accidentally take all the money out of their checking account. To me, that's it. Let me think. What else is there? There's one other thing. I think they do ask about like an occasional pipe or cigar. So they don't, they're not tobacco specific. I should say they're tobacco friendly. Let's put it that way. I'm not sure exactly what the verbiage on the application is about that question, but I know they do allow for occasional pipe or cigar. They don't count that as a typical tobacco use, like other companies do. Like Transamerica does. Transamerica's asking in the past 12 months, have you used any tobacco products? They're not doing that. They're making it. They're going, well, if you smoke an occasional cigar, it's okay. We're not going to count that. I love that stuff. So now you got a really good product for somebody who is a smoker, that smokes occasional pipe or cigar, that's not a cigarette smoker. And so it goes to that non-tobacco rate. Guys, look, I hope that you got something out of this call. I know in a brief time I kind of touched on a lot of things, and I did touch on this American Amicable product line. But I will say this, and just to be clear before I end the call, I know that we've got agents that I've suggested not to lead with this company for one reason or another. And, if you want to ask me why, sure, ask me separately, but because it's different products in different states. But I do believe that most of the agents on our sales team, like if you're out there and you have multiple products and you're learning how to be an independent agent, this product, it's not going to hurt you to lead with it. Unless you're in a state where, like, let me just say, I'll give you an example. Maybe like Tennessee can be really competitive. And these folks, I know Tennessee is one of those lowest income states out there. So leading with a product like this can be a little more difficult. So, guys, if you need anything, you know how to reach me. I hope everybody has a great week. And again, let's get out there, do something good for a bunch of families, and happy